Guys, it's Kelly here and I'm back with another video. Today's video is featuring a new set from Gina K Designs. Their new release drops tonight, and this is called Precious Pups. Is it not so funny how I normally only do flowers, but like all of these releases that I've been so blessed to be a part of are like puppies and kitties and critters, and like I might have to throw a flower card in here soon or y'all are going to be like, I don't even know whose channel this is anymore. But so these stamps are solid stamps, and as you all know, I like to color. So I got in my mind I was going to try some things to work with the solid stamp in a different way. And you know that I like to leave in all of my experimentation, so that's what I'm doing. So I have, this is Neenah 80-pound solar white cardstock. I am starting by stamping in Black Soot Distress Oxide ink. These have pigment properties. Excuse me while I bump the camera. And so I thought that I could layer them. Okay, that was my game plan, because like pigment sits on top of the paper. And so I was like, ooh, let me see if I can layer them. So I started with black, the black soot. And then I was like, okay, from there, then I'll like do a gray and then do a white. And I should probably be able to create some texture. This worked-ish. This worked kind of. And so I think it's important to leave it in so you guys can see all of the steps. But also I think it's important to leave it in because maybe somebody else will see this video and be like, oh, this is a better way to try this. And I am here for it. So I did the gray, which was hickory smoke. And I went in and used my rag to kind of blot it up. And then I blotted up too much blotting. So I had to go back in and put some more around the edges and then blot again, but less, less blotting. And then I stamped that down. Now this did not work as well as I had hoped that it would. In hindsight, maybe I should have done them in reverse, where I stamped my lightest color first and then built up the layers on top of it. And I'm not opposed to giving that a try another time. But this worked enough for me to get the look that I wanted, with, of course, some extra coloring to add the texture, for me to just go with it. So maybe that's something to try. Maybe we'll try that again in the future. So I stamped it the first time and you basically couldn't see the gray whatsoever. So I was like, let me try it again, because sometimes you gotta build it up. And this you could see a little bit more. I don't know how much really you can see on camera, but in real life you could see it a little bit more. So then I ditched the gray all completely and I moved on to white. And I'm going to do the same thing. So this is just a microfiber rag, by the way. I use this and I also use baby wipes. But so I'm going to ink it up, stamp it up, ink it up the same way that I would usually, and then just wipe off some of the excess ink using like that blotting, which is going to create a lot more texture. And so then I stamped that and you can see the white worked much better. And then I was like, well, you know, if once is good, twice is better. And so I did it again. The part that I did not do that I would recommend doing is making sure it's completely dry when you're done before you move on to the next step. So I just kind of left it sit on my desk. I didn't double check that it was completely dry. And so you do need to make sure that it is completely dry. Otherwise, you're going to have some issues with your paper being too wet when you go to do this next step. So this next step is colored pencils. And we're just going to use two colors. We're going to use black and white. And we're going to use them to create little fur hairs. And really give it a lot of texture without having to go in and do all of the detail. So I started with the black first, and you can see, well, maybe you can't because of my hand. What I'm doing is I'm just drawing little swoopy lines. And so if you have a longer haired dog like this one is, you're going to draw them a little bit longer. If you have a shorter haired dog, you would draw them a little bit smaller, and like up towards his face, because those are typically short hairs. even for longer, shaggier dogs, that my strokes are a little bit smaller. But basically, I'm just kind of extending out the stamp that's already there with my little strokes. And then the same thing for his little feeties. Like, his little feeties are not going to be as furry, as fuzzy. So I'm bringing the hair down over his paws or her paws. I have two girl dogs. Over her or his paws. And then, once you're happy with the like amount of black that you have down, you really could leave this. Like, you could just leave it with the black and you would still have the texture. You don't necessarily need to add in the white highlights that I'm going to do. But I wanted to do the white. I thought it would make the furs more interesting. And so, again, the only other thing with this that I would really recommend is make sure that you're working with a very sharp pencil. You saw that I sharpened mine in the beginning. And for one of them, I did have to go back. I can't remember if it was the black or the white. I think maybe it was the white. I did have to go back in and sharpen it again, because in order to get those fine lines, you need to have a really sharp pencil. And so I just picked some spots that I thought that maybe he should have some more white furs. So I chose his chest, a little bit around his face, his ears, his tail. I did more of a heavier concentration of the white strokes. And that was, again, just to kind of like break up his fur color a little bit. Plus, like, the sugar on his face, like my Molly has lots of sugar on her face because she's an old girl now. And so this is just a really good way, I felt, to use a solid stamp in a different way and add tons of texture to it. Because with black dogs, not that you wouldn't have shadows and highlights and lowlights, and I have a whole video on how to color a black cat so that you still have definition. But here, it's okay if you don't. And then to further up the ante on the white areas or the highlights, I'm going in with a white gel pen and I'm doing those same small strokes. It's fine if your pen skips. It'll look more natural, more organic. So I didn't put down a ton of pressure. I just let it skip where it wanted to. I did fill in the nose with the black colored pencil. And then I also did use the white gel pen to put just a little bit of a highlight on there. I also used the white gel pen to bolster up the whites of his eyes. So the little half moon and then also the little dot. So that way that was just nice and solid white. And then from there, this totally came about like, I was like, okay, well now I've done the dog. Now what am I going to do? Because I really didn't know. And so originally I was like, okay, I'm just going to do like a blue sky and have him sitting in some grasses. And I was like, no, I've done that so much. Do something else. So I was looking at what came in the set, and there's like a little ball and a little bone, and there's these little footprints, little paw prints. And I was like, oh, wouldn't that be cute if he was a little mud monster, you know, like my girls are. They just go out and they play in the mud, and then they just sit at the door patiently waiting for me to let them back into the house after, of course, I cleaned them 100 times because they're so muddy. And so that's how this idea came about. I sketched it in with pencil first. I know some people can just go in straight with markers. That I'm not one of those people. And then what you see me here is I'm using a kneading eraser to just kind of tap over my pencil lines, because once you put alcohol markers, any kind of alcohol markers over a pencil line, you can't erase it. You've basically made it permanent. The pencil is permanent. And so I wanted to be able to see where my outlines were, but not be able to see them in the final piece. And so that's why I went in and did that way. The reason that I chose like kind of like the back door deck situation is because that is my dog's situation. That is my dog's situation. They get their little muddy, I have muddy footprints on my deck right now because we finally got some much needed rain. And so I have little doggy footprints all over my back deck. And the only thing that's different is the color of the house. And that's because I let Peanut pick it. I was like, what color should this house be? So here I'm going in with a lighter brown to see if I can put mud on his paws. And this brown is too light. So then I switched over to a colored pencil to really kind of add some darkness. And that still was not as dark as I wanted it to be to really show how muddy these paws are. And so eventually I'm going to go in with a darker brown Copic and just kind of dot it on, and it will make much more sense. So once I did like everything, I did the pencil, I went in, you saw, with a very light gray marker just to kind of sketch everything out because I am more comfortable that way. And now I'm going to get into the coloring. It's very hard for me to do a no-line coloring background. I think that they're really beautiful. I have so many card makers that I admire that do these beautiful no-line images. And I like a black outline. It just makes me feel safer. Like that's the honest truth. Like I just feel like I have a little safety net with a black outline. And so normally that's what I would do, is I would outline everything. But because my dog doesn't have an outline, I was like, no, it makes more sense if the whole image doesn't have an outline. So just embrace it, Kelly. And so that's what I did. I pushed myself a little bit outside of my comfort zone. Do I 100% love everything on this card? No, I don't. I did a card, this was quite some time ago, with a little, it was like a flower box, mailbox on the side of a house with the door, and like the orientation of it just wasn't quite right. And that's how I still feel about this door. And I don't know if it's because I keep drawing them off the edge, or if I genuinely, like, my perspective is so far off, but there's something is amiss. But as Gina would say, if you watch her videos, it's better than horrible, and I'm okay with it. I am okay with it because sometimes it's not going to be perfect. And you know what? I think somebody that I sent this card to would not look at it and be like, oh, well, that's not what that should look like. And so I'm just going to be okay with it, and I'll hopefully learn a lesson for next time. So here I'm putting in the wood grain along the deck. The deck, I actually love the way that it came out with the little railings. I think that was super cute. And I love the little scene in the background, like with a little tree and some grasses. I love the way that came out. So basically I just don't like the door, which, you know, you're not going to always love everything, and it's okay. I did want to tell you, remember how we talked about in the beginning of the video about how pigment inks sit on top of the paper? That is true. And so while we are creating a ton of texture to look at, you can feel the difference in the texture in the paper. Like it sits on top of it. It's slightly raised, which I think is really cool that you can feel it on the card. So yeah, just something to take into consideration in case you're like, hey, I'm going to try this. So yeah, that's that. As far as, I feel like I told you I was gone for like a week and a half, and I told you guys, like, I've just been making, like crazy, but I haven't been putting up any videos because my kids were sick, and thankfully they're both feeling better. Praise Jesus. So I still do have I still have so many videos to put together. And so hopefully I will be kind of sharing those. Right now, I think we're like, are we 4 or 5 days in a row of videos? There's been a lot of videos. And usually I try to space them out a bit more. Not only because I don't want to oversaturate your, I value your time, basically, is what it comes down to. And I know that there's a lot of card makers out there putting out videos, and I want you to be able to support all of the people that you love and gather up all of the inspiration that you can. And so I try not to put up so many videos that it's just like me in your feed. But that just kind of is the way that it's been, just because I'm sitting on so many things. I will, in fact, have another video. I will have another video for tomorrow. But then I think we'll have a short break. And I'm sure that you guys are so wonderful. You're very reassuring. That like, hey, just put up the videos and we'll get to them when we get to them. No worries about that. And I do appreciate that. This weekend, it is it's Father's Day this weekend, so I do have I need to put that up. Oh no. Oh no, no, no. I do have a card for Father's Day. So I have to find a way to to put in that video as well. It's another scene card. We got a lot of those lately, don't we? Oh, Lord have mercy. All right, well, I'll find a spot for that one somewhere before Father's Day because it's a digital stamp, so it's like a super last minute. If you forgot to get your significant other a Father's Day card, you could buy this digital stamp, print it out, and it's a really cute card. I think it's actually going to be the one that I end up using for my husband. Because I think it's really cute, and the sentiment that comes with it is very fitting. So yeah, here what I'm doing is I'm coloring in the sky and this one corner portion, and then of course the door. The doors, like when you're coloring glass, typically you see a lot of card makers do like a blue, and usually that's because it's reflecting the light, like it's reflecting the sky, and so that is why they look blue when you look at them from a certain angle, because it's reflecting. And so it was also another really, really good way to bring in some other colors, since this particular scene is very like gray, brown. You get what I'm saying. It needed some help with some other colors because I love colors. So until Peanut picked the house color as white, I was actually going to color it like a navy or a red. I would never paint my house red because I don't like red that much, but I would paint it a navy. Navy's my dream. I don't think my husband's going to let me have it, and it is our house, so I guess everybody gets a say. But yeah, I would not, I would really like a blue. I think a blue house would be beautiful with white trim. Okay, I digress. So anyway, so I will try to see about fitting that video in. Or if you're like, Kelly, I'm done, I'm over Father's Day, like, please let me know in the comments, and I will I'll save it. Well, I won't save it. I'll never post it. Let's be honest. I will I will just keep it and give it to my husband and not post a video because it's still useful to me. So yeah, what have we been up to? Both the kids are feeling better. I did share that with you, and that is great. Some housekeeping things. Here, I just felt like there wasn't enough shadow on the inside edge, and so I went in with a C7 just on the inside edge and just underneath that little door handle to kind of like bolster up that shadow a bit. Should I have gone in and blended it back out? Maybe. Did I? Absolutely not. I did not. So kids are feeling better. Oh, the website. So I have been having my website redone for quite some time now, and I knew it was going to take a long time, but it's coming to its conclusion. So I'm very excited about that. I'm going to do new blog. It'll have a store. So I'm super excited for that to hit. And like all of the behind the scenes work to finally be complete. I've also been working on some new illustrations for stamps, which is also very exciting. I am super, super blessed. God is very, very good, and been able to work with a lot of different companies. And so we'll see kind of just how that shakes out. Right now, I'm still very new to the whole thing, even though like I do spend time, drawing things because I enjoy it. It's kind of just like a stress reliever, but it's, also it's nice to see them turned into stamps. So obviously as those come to fruition, I will be sharing more information about that. So all in all, my plate is very full, but not in a way that I think is too much. There are some things that like I've had to turn down work-wise, which I really don't like doing. But I think you also have to know, especially, for doing like guest design and things like that, you have to know what is a good fit for you, and you have to know what you can fit into your calendar. And so I always discuss those things with with Eric because he's my partner in life, but also because I trust his opinion and I know he's going to be very honest with me of whether or not he thinks it's something that is reasonable for me or for where I'm at with the things that I want to accomplish. And so he's super supportive, and so sometimes I do have to say no, but that's very rare, honestly. I try to do as much as I can for small businesses because I think it's super important. So now all of the coloring is done. Here is this little paw print, and I'm going in with Gina's. This is her, is it dark chocolate? Yep, it is. And so I put it on my finger on purpose because it's not going to stamp evenly every time, and I wanted it to look genuinely like Muddy Little prints. And so I am stamping it, second generation stamping it, third generation stamping it just all over the deck so they just look completely messy, because in real life that's exactly how mine look. And then originally I thought that I would use the sentiment in here that says, congratulations on your new fur baby. But I actually ended up going with dog leaves paw prints on your heart, which I thought was adorable. And then, when I use this card, I will, just include something on the inside that say, like dogs leave paw prints on our hearts and everywhere else, because that's true. And then use the congratulations sentiment. So I think that would be super cute, because if you have dogs, they are mud monsters. They are. I added some shimmer to the glass door, and then I'm going to go in one more time with that white gel pen. I'm going to add some highlights to the window, and then also I used it to add some highlights to the frame of the door as well as the handle, like the portion that sticks out. And then I used it to just do some simple little white dots in the tree, like little white flowers, to kind of break up that green a little bit. And then that is pretty much the whole card. So I had no plan when I sat down. So for having no plan, I am not mad about it. I think it's cute. I would encourage you to click the link below to check out Gina's new release. Lots of really good stuff there. And thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope that you learned a little bit of something, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.